Oh, all right. Finally. Thank you to those who have stuck with me. We are live finally on the Source Podcast Blue Collar Bets. Having some internet trouble here as we dive into what should be an absolute great weekend of gambling. I am scrambling right now to set up a couple banners. So if you just give me 1 second, we can set up what we are looking at to bet this weekend. I know exactly what I want to put down. I just have not written it, but we're going to go game by game as we go through tonight's slate, including games that start in less than 30 minutes. So stick with me here. We're going to get the first one going. Heat minus 1.5 at the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Let me, woo! It is Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm a little knocked out from the week. A little bit of the broadcasting, what's it called? The broadcasting yips, I guess I would say. Let me pull myself together really quickly. So the Miami Heat, I think, as I said on Big Tasty's NBA breakdown a couple of days ago during the play-in tournament, I am not a believer in this Atlanta Hawks roster. I don't necessarily believe that they're a good fit. I don't think it's a roster thing so much as I think it's a terrible fit. Against the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are a team that really can control the pace of the game. The Atlanta Hawks love to run. This is not an indictment on Atlanta's roster so much as it is Eric Spoelstra is that guy. Eric Spoelstra is him. He should win my He's Him award of the day, which reminds me that went to Pablo Lopez yesterday. But Eric Spoelstra is most definitely him and will continue to be. I don't see any real way that Atlanta. I understand that they might be able to steal games here and there, but you also have to understand that the Miami Heat are a very good team on the road. Like statistically speaking, I'm looking up their numbers right now. Um, well, first of all, they're 13-3 versus division opponents. Um, Yeah, the Heat are pretty good on the road. I don't really want to question them there. I would really say that this is not the game to take the underdog in. I understand that there are a couple instances to do that. Um, I don't think today is one of those days. Um, let me get my stats up. Basically, Jesus Christ, I am having Wi-Fi issues. Um, let me do it this way. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm sorry. I just want to have the right numbers before I dive into this. So the Heat are 24-17 on the road, which is not that big of a disparity from the Hawks being 26. Sorry, the Hawks being 27-14 at home. I understand the Hawks are much better at home than they are on the road, but a lot of those home wins are coming against lower tier Eastern Conference teams. I don't think the Heat are the team to mess with here, and I particularly love some of the matchups in the backcourt defensively. I think Trae Young is a liability. We know this. We've seen this time and time again. I look forward to Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo, really, if he plays, exploiting this defensive backcourt for Atlanta and working from the inside out. A lot of open threes in the corner. I would not be surprised if Duncan Robinson has yet another big game. He's been killing it. I really don't see. I shouldn't say I don't see how the Hawks win this game because there are obviously very clear paths for the Hawks where they can outshoot and outscore anyone if they control the pace and tempo of the game. I just don't think that Eric Spoelstra is going to relent on that pace and tempo, and for that reason, I like Miami Heat minus 1.5. The next one, I don't necessarily. I'm just going to write the game out here because I don't necessarily have a play on it. Milwaukee. Oh, actually, hold up. Let me make sure the lines are correct. Milwaukee minus 2.5 at Chicago. This is not a play. This is just what the line is. Um, I personally am not a big fan of taking Milwaukee in this spot. Milwaukee has been somewhat murky on the road. Actually, there's 24-17, just like the Heat, but just just a lot of the big games on the road. I don't know if you guys remember the game against the Celtics that they got blown out. They got blown out in Golden State pretty embarrassingly. The games against big competition, I feel like they tend to fall apart on the road. The Bulls have been at a terrible spot for themselves at 19-22 on the road. So this has never been good for them on the road against good teams. I know they're not great against good teams. Milwaukee is missing Chris Middleton. Chicago is 27-14 at home. This is a much better spot for them. They have the home crowd going for them. They tied the series 1-1. I don't think they win this series, but I do think that they have the possibility to steal this game, especially at home. Give me Chicago. I'm going to hide and make this an official. Chicago plus 2.5, 1 unit play. For a couple reasons besides that, without Chris Middleton, this offense becomes a lot more paint centric, paint dynamic. And I'm not saying that the Bulls are necessarily the best paint defense in the league, exactly far from it. But what I am saying is they are way more comfortable having to deal with the inside game than they are having to deal with Giannis and 4 shooters. Now, I understand they still are going to have shooters, but Chris Middleton not being one of those shooters at least creates a situation where one of those shooters is not going to be able to create his own shot as well as Chris Middleton does. Drew Holiday can create his own shot. There's no doubt about it. Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton. These are the names I start to get into where I'm thinking maybe at least Chicago can get out to them, get a hand up. Also, a little bit of the home court advantage. Chicago, I'm sure, will be rocking for this game. I have no doubt Giannis is going to go for like 40, 10, and 10. That's not my issue. My issue is that there have been games this season when Chris Middleton's been out where Giannis has carried the load and done absolutely everything he needs to do, and it still has not been enough. I'm absolutely concerned about that being an issue here. So, something that I would be interested in, and I'm not going to look up the odds right now because obviously it would take too much time, but I would be interested in a same game parlay that has Chicago money line, but a couple Giannis props here and there. Let's see what the Bucks record is without Chris Middleton. And by the way, for you guys who are wondering where I'm getting these stats from, if you are unaware, and I know the stat nerds are kind of getting mad at me, like everyone knows this place, but uh, if you use StatMuse, you can look up things like Bucks record without Chris Middleton 2022, and we can see that the Bucks were 7-9 without Chris Middleton in this season. If we look at the results, the wins were against Detroit versus Chicago. To be fair, they did beat Chicago, but they were in Milwaukee versus New Orleans on January 1st. I don't know if there were injuries then, but there may have been. Indiana, New York, Washington, and Philly. Philly, I'm not sure if there were injuries there either, but they did. I'll give credit to them for Philly and New Orleans. But the thing is, the losses, they lost to New Orleans as well. They lost to the Wizards. They lost to the Knicks as well. They lost to the Hawks. They lost to the Cavs. They lost to the Clippers. They lost to the Jazz. They lost to the Celtics. There's a trend here of them losing to good teams on the road. I like getting the points at home, especially if Milwaukee is dealing with injury problems. It's always hard to deal with that on the fly. And Billy Donovan has really shown his salt, shown what he is worth in this little brief playoff time that he's had. So I'm going with the Bulls at plus 2.5 here. Feel free to fade me. I understand that everyone loves riding the Bucks, but I'm actually going to put my ticket in right now, as well as my Miami ticket. But I will say I think I'm going to put Miami in about a half unit just because there are a little bit, as I said, I'm not a big fan of taking the favorites on the road in the playoffs, but it's the playoffs, baby. I don't know what else to say besides that. I also am going to throw a little sprinkle on Chicago's money line because I see it's at plus 125. I thought it would be closer to plus 120. So I think that's worth about a half unit. Let me throw them down here. And we are on to the next one, ladies and gentlemen. And the next one is, I believe, the Suns and Pelicans tonight. Let me create a banner for that. I'm going to put in all caps line so people know that what my pick is. It's not necessarily indicative of what's on the screen. Suns are -2.5. Let's go over this game because this one also has an injury. And I'm quite curious about how the Suns are going to play without Devin Booker. People do need to realize that the Suns are a much, much deeper team than they're given credit for. So when you look at the Suns' record without Devin Booker, let me see. They're 8-6 without him, which is not fantastic, but not terrible. If you look at who the results are against, I'm doing this all on the fly, so I don't have an agenda going into this. I am still I'm finishing graduating, so got to get that degree first. But they beat Portland, Boston, Washington, Detroit, the Spurs, Portland again, Orlando, and New York. The only impressive win there is Boston on the road. Let's look Suns record on the road without Devin Booker. 2-5 on the road without Devin Booker. Losses to Golden State, Clippers, Bucks, Thunder, and Clippers again. So once again, those are good teams, but let's not act like New Orleans is not a good team. And what's most scary to me about this for the Suns is in these games, in these 7 games that they played without Devin Booker on the road, in 3 of them, they score, or 4 of them, they scored under 100. They scored 102 points or less. That's not going to get the job done against a team like New Orleans, who loves to run and score. And I just wonder if Phoenix gets a little bit out of their element here when we're looking at not being able to rely on that main scorer. And I want to see what's their efficiency numbers like from 3. They shoot about 32, 33% from 3 is not bad without Devin Booker, but 42% from the field is slightly concerning. I do wonder how they pick that slack up. Monty Williams is a great coach, but Willie Green, also another up-and-comer who has really shown that he is worth the hire and well worth running this team deep into the playoffs, which is what I think he wants to do. I like the New Orleans Pelicans +2.5, and I'm guessing that they're also +125. If +115, they're down to +2. Gotcha. So I like New Orleans +2 and New Orleans +115. I've explained my reasoning why I really think that this is a good spot for them. First game at home, you have the crowd with you. You have, I don't like to say it like this, but you have the injury bug on your side. As in, Devin Booker not playing is a plus for the Pelicans. I never wish ill on anyone. I never wish injury on anyone by any means. But from a betting perspective, this does help the Pelicans, and that does reflect in the line. I still think, however, that New Orleans can and will pull this game off. Once again, I don't think that this means they win the series, even though going up 2-1 in the series is huge. They are facing the Phoenix Suns. But the first game without Devin Booker, I know that people are going to step up in his place. I understand that. But I just think that from an offensive perspective of points scored and ability to kind of create pressure and control the pace, the players, CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, and that team is way more in sync than a Suns team without Devin Booker. I think the Suns really need Devin Booker back. I hope they get him back soon. But in this game, my play is New Orleans. Now, I want to look to the MLB tonight. Job, my partner, is the MLB guy, so I'm not going to do too much here because, sadly, Job could not join us. We wish him the best. But we do have a collab play out. Let me make sure I get the right line that we posted because I don't want to post conflicting lines. Yada, yada, yada. Where's the collab play? You guys ever post anything on your Twitter and then you just scroll and you can't find it whatsoever? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's in the notifications. White Sox money line -110. Now, I'm not going to screw around and act like I know why Job made this pick because Job is the baseball guy, not me. But I do like the White Sox, and I do know a little bit of baseball. I'm just not big on the baseball betting. The White Sox, I know because I've been looking at Baseball Savant, have been getting extremely unlucky. Their WOBA is, I think, around 319. Their XWOBA is closer to 350. Their hard hit percentage is through the roof. Their barrel percentage is through the roof. They're just not getting the luck that goes along with that. I fully expect them to get that coming back in. Bailey Ober is a good pitcher, but he is slightly inconsistent. And I do think that the Chicago White Sox batters are keying for a big game after a bad sweep loss against the Cleveland Guardians, in which the Guardians scored 10 runs or 11 runs in a game in one of those. And unceremoniously, Chicago went down without fighting in their last game. They had a day to sit on it. I don't think they're happy. Kopech has a .78 whip since coming in this year. 9 innings pitch, I know, is obviously not that many, but that's the sample size we have to work off right now. We all like the Chicago White Sox -110. That is a collab with our friend Bye Bye Bookie. Go give him a follow on Twitter. One of our personal friends and friends on Twitter. Great guy, great better. I want to move on to tomorrow. Ooh, nasty Nestor's pitching. I know I'm taking the Yankees, but looking ahead in this series, I kind of like the Raptors for looking ahead in the playoffs. The early line is Philly -3 at Toronto. And the reason I kind of like Toronto, and like this is personal. This is it's not like I have personal beef. Like this is not like, oh yo, this is personal. You know what I mean? But like this is personal in that this is a personal take. This is not backed up by statistics. This is a that boy nice instead of an advanced stats kind of move here. Doc Rivers, I just don't trust him to sweep a series. And I understand this Philly team is way more talented than Toronto's team, and I understand that there's no chance Toronto comes back and wins this series. Don't get me wrong. But what I do think is that Nick Nurse is one of the most innovative motherfuckers I've ever seen coach a basketball team. He had a ball handler in the middle of the court at the logo, and then started 4 guys running they were set up like wide receivers on the half court line, and they sprinted down court and ran a play, and it worked. That was this year. Like he just thinks of shit, and it's pretty remarkable to me. And I've loved watching the constant battle between Embiid and him because it's really just Embiid that's causing him all of these big issues, and he's trying everything he can. I just think Toronto, with their backs up against the wall here, I kind of like Toronto +3. I have to do more research on it. I obviously also have to put it into the model and factor in Matisse Thybulle not being in, Scotty Barnes probably not playing as well. But I like the 3 points. I think even if they lose this game, they're going to play their hearts out. This is their absolute last shot back against the wall. And I think Nick Nurse will perform well in that situation. I'm throwing a half unit on it for this one because not necessarily too confident, even though they are at home and are getting the points. I am skipping out on the Dallas-Utah series. First of all, I don't want to watch it because honestly, it's kind of just sad, especially with that Luka Doncic. Although now that he'll be back, maybe I'll catch the game. But also because I just don't necessarily have any interest in taking 5 points with the Utah Jazz the way they've been playing lately. But I don't want to take the Mavs on the road, even though they're getting 5 because they have this 2-1 advantage. And Luka coming back might actually shorten the role of Jalen Brunson, shorten the role of Spencer Dinwiddie and a couple other people and DFS who have been playing really well, Maxi Kleber as well. And even though he obviously benefits this team, I'm not going to say that Luka makes the team worse. It does kind of disrupt the chemistry when you're talking about a team that has taken 2 games from the Utah Jazz in the first 3. Let's not forget, by the way, that the Utah Jazz are the 5 seed, not the 4 seed. They're not the favorite. They were the favorite in this series because of Luka being injured. Luka being back with the series being at 2-1. The ball is in Utah's court to play better and make a move. I don't like betting on Quinn Snyder, and this team has a lot of chemistry issues. Plus, the jerseys they just unveiled are gross. So I'm skipping out on the Dallas Utah game. Boston, Brooklyn. I am putting this one in all caps. Boston at Brooklyn, -3. Crap. Can I explain something to you guys? I know there are very few people listening. I'm not like acting like I'm talking to hundreds of people here, but to the very few people that are listening, I'm going to tell you something very, very valuable about this series. And it's not. I'm not acting like I'm not trying to be some smart know-it-all guy. I'm on the learning curve just like everybody else. But something I have definitely learned is how reverse line movement works and how Vegas line movement works to their profit and their benefit, because that's something you have to learn in a gambling space. And here's your here's your dollar's worth of wisdom. This series is an entire trap by Vegas. And I'm not out here saying that games are rigged. Games are not rigged. I'm not out here saying series are rigged. Series are not rigged. But what I will say is that Vegas stakes themselves on certain teams. That's known. If the line, Vegas always wants to get 50-50 on a line. That way they can take the VIG and that's their profit. Easy peasy. No need to worry about who wins the game. You already got your money. That's in a perfect world for them. But that doesn't always happen. In this series, this line opened up at, I believe, -145 plus 125. -145 being Boston, being favored. Pretty close line for a 2-7 series, but obviously we knew that the Nets are no ordinary 7 seed. Money flows in on Brooklyn. I'm talking 70-75% of public money on Brooklyn. And what happens to the line? It barely moved. It went from +125 to +120, -145 to -140. Barely moved. Vegas is begging you, or was, I guess, because now it's 2-0 in the series. Vegas was begging people to take the Brooklyn Nets. And 70-75% of people fell for it. I took the Celtics because of this, because I'd rather be on the side of Vegas than the public. And this is something that a lot of people need to get through their heads as bettors. We, as gamblers, we cannot know everything. We can't be the best at everything. We have to know when there are smarter people than us and why they're doing what they're doing. Try to figure that out to make ourselves better. And at this point, from my viewpoint, I'm seeing 75% of the public being on one thing because of Kyrie and KD, and I'm seeing Vegas, who could have moved the line when everyone started taking Brooklyn publicly and moved it down so that more people were like, Boston at the 2 seed's a good price. Let's take them and change it back. They staked themselves on Boston to win this series. So far, it's worked out to their benefit. It's 2-0. I'm not saying anything for this game, because I'm not saying the Nets can't take a game. I'm not taking a line on this game because I have the Boston Celtics to win the series, and I have no interest in going anything higher than 1 or 2 points on any team in this game. I might take Boston +3 just because I think every game's going to end up within 3, but the fact of the matter is I'm riding Boston this series because Vegas is too. And at a certain point in time, I have to say that people in Vegas who make these algorithms and make the lines, they know more than I do. And that's okay. I can still follow those people, see what they're doing, figure out why they're doing what they're doing, and then accurately move that over to my betting to make myself a better gambler. I pass that advice on not only to others, but to myself constantly. And I want to pass that message on to you guys. Listen to Vegas when they talk to you, because they do not talk to you often. But when they do, it's valuable stuff like this, because now I don't know what the price is on the series. I'd bet, any team at a 2-0 lead is going to be at really, really good odds. Certainly not -140. Certainly not -145. People see the plus money next to Brooklyn and they say, ooh, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, plus money. Ooh-wee. Fact of the matter is, I don't know if you guys saw that last game. Kyrie Irving forced Steve Nash to take a challenge. 3 minutes later, there was a play that the ball was clearly out on Boston. They could not challenge. Why? Because Kyrie clearly committed a foul. went like this, and Steve Nash, who is a player's coach, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but in this situation, he listens to his player, he takes the challenge, and now a crucial call at the end of the game can't be challenged because Kyrie clearly fouled someone but got upset about it. Ime Udoka is also a first-year coach, but he has worked under Greg Popovich. He has worked under and in some of the best organizations and best administrations in this sport, in sports, period. He knows exactly what he's doing. I know he's a first year head coach, but he does not look and act like the one. There's a reason why he should have been and was almost a nominee for coach of the year. And I believe maybe he is. I'm not sure, but he should be if he's not. Um, Moral of the story here is listen to Vegas when they talk to you and try to find out why they're saying what they're saying because that will make you a better. And I love saying that saying. The last game of Saturday night, we have Memphis at a -3 at Minnesota. I don't even know if I want to take anything on this game. I'm just loving watching it go back and forth. Uh, I can't imagine having had money on that game the other night. The back and forth, 26-point lead, 25-point lead, both blown to Minnesota bettors. I am truly sorry, but I do think this presents an opportunity for Minnesota. This is not a team that was going to take this loss lightly. I understand that Memphis is a better team. I understand that Memphis is likely going to win this series. And I've been saying that for a lot of them, but you got to understand first round series is they're not usually all that competitive unless you have something like the 2-7 where the Nets got injured and worked their way down or, you know, anything like that. So you get to this Timberwolves roster, this explosive team, and we've seen that they have this possibility to get up 26, 25 points. I think that it's just a matter of working Karl Anthony Towns a little bit more into the closing of the game. He only took 4 shots. That's ridiculous. One of the best players in your team has got to touch the ball more than that. Chris Finch knows this. I do also question Chris Finch not calling a timeout throughout that entire predicament. But regardless, I think Minnesota's in a good spot here at +3. Breaking news. I just want to put this out there. I know I'm talking about the Minnesota-Memphis game. The Hawks-Heat game is not going to start at 7 o'clock as planned. It's actually going to start at 7:30. They found a suspicious package outside of the arena that they are investigating. They believe it to be harmless and that the game should continue in 30 minutes. But that gives us more time to talk, I guess. So the suspicious package found outside the whole bunch of shit going on. I'm in Washington D.C. There was in Northwest Washington D.C. There was just a shooting like I don't know, like a mile away from me, and I had a friend working a block away. Shit's crazy right now, man. Everyone should stay safe. Talk to your loved ones a lot, and I don't know. Every day's a blessing. But I do want to look at. Let's see what the UFC card is tomorrow. Anything? Jessica Andrade, -225 is a little too much for me. I do like Clay Guida at -120. But we also do have other UFC experts here at BCMG that I do know are big UFC guys, and I'm not going to take away their spotlight. On Sunday, I believe we have Bulls, Bucks again, Warriors, Nuggets, Heat, Hawks, and Suns, Pelicans. I'm not going to talk about the Bulls, Bucks, or Heat, Hawks, or Pelicans, Suns because we already went over those games. And these games, I think, will be defined based on how tonight's games go. So I can't really do anything about that. But we do have the Golden State Warriors at -4.5-point favorites at the Denver Nuggets. Listen, shout out to my boy Big Tasty, Denver Nuggets fan. Should have also said that for Minnesota because he's a fan of Minnesota as well. But man, this Golden State. I have money on this Golden State team to make it out of the West, so I'm extremely biased here. But I absolutely love Golden State -4.5. I feel like this is one of those lines where Vegas is like Denver's not going to get swept, back against the wall at home. And I understand that. Like I've been talking about that mentality with several other teams, but it doesn't always apply. And I feel like that's got to be recognized more. When you look at home road splits, like a lot of teams were more dominant at home than the Nuggets were. The Nuggets were 29-23 at home, 6-game differential. Uh, I mean, we got most of. Let me read you the home records of the teams in the Western Conference playoffs. You got Suns are 32-9, Grizzlies 30-11, Warriors 31-10, Mavs 29-12, Jazz 29-12, Timberwolves 26-15, Pelicans 19-22. And then the play-in teams: Clippers 25-16, Spurs 16-25. Of the teams still in this playoffs, the only team with a worse record at home than the Denver Nuggets is the New Orleans Pelicans. So I don't feel like, sorry, in the Western Conference, I should specify. So I don't necessarily feel like this is a home court advantage, even though the high altitude's there. I'm more concerned about Jordan Poole being banged up in the last game, Draymond Green twisting that ankle. That would be my main concern. But I love the idea of Steph coming off the bench. I think a lot of people don't realize what Steve Kerr is trying to do here. And I'm not like saying, oh, bless Steve Kerr, but I am saying that he is great. That Steph Curry is great at finishing quarters. And what Steve Kerr has done is he's made sure that Steph Curry is going to finish every single quarter. So as a like and I understand that like obviously duh he's the closer in the fourth, but like that also means the first, second, third, fourth, like all those runs that you go on going into the end of a quarter, going into the halftime, whatever, that's a momentum shift. You can make that into a momentum shift. Steph Curry's great at doing that. And while he works back from his minutes limit, I think this is a great way to do it, as well as a way to get Jordan Poole some more open space, because man, that kid can shoot. That's going to be it from me. We would be going over some baseball stuff, but sadly, Joe cannot join us tonight. You can catch me on the Butthole draft coverage this upcoming week. I know I've been slacking with my draft content. School has been taking priority. I hope you guys understand that. But I am planning on releasing a bunch of scouting reports this week. And I'm going to be on the Butthole broadcast for the NFL draft on day one and possibly on day two. Look at me for the Giants draft picks, plus a couple more. I'll let them handle the introductions and the references and the hype for the rest of that. But I cannot wait. Last year was an absolute blast with the guys over at Butthole, and I cannot think of another way that I'd rather spend my NFL draft day. And that's saying something, because that is one of my favorite days of the year. I'd like to thank you guys all for being with me here. I know we had some technical difficulties at the start, but I really do appreciate you guys sticking with us through and through. Content is going to increase after I graduate in a couple weeks. I know that's kind of like I don't know, not a great thing to hear if you're waiting for content right now, but I want to be honest with people, and I got to tell it how it is. I got to get that piece of paper first, and then I can move on to bigger and better things. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you, Joe, as always, for being the best co-host possible, regardless of whether you're here or not. Does way more than any of you could ever know, and I'm endlessly appreciative for him. Aiden, our editor, thank you very much. BCMG, as always, thank you guys for putting this production on. Our partners over at SharpRank, that's our official partner to track all of our picks. You can find everything and our profile over there at Source Podcast. You can find us www.sourcepodcast.com online or anywhere you listen to podcasts at The Source Podcast with Joe Goddard and Sam Hiller, as well as on Twitter at Source Podcast 11. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you. Oh, also, use promo code The Source at BetUS and get a 150% bonus on your first deposit. I almost didn't notice. Thank you to the ticker going across the bottom. That's going to do it for me, guys. As always, thank you for tuning in. That'll do it. Source crew, I love you. On to the next one.